Hey there, welcome back to the channel. It's January in Shetland and the weather has been pretty terrible this week. 50 mph winds and the rain coming diagonally down towards you to go with it. So I thought it'd be a good chance today to have a look back at my photography journey over the last year through my 10 favourite photos. So why not grab a cup of tea or coffee or your favourite drink and let's get into it. Last January was quite the contrast to this January. Last January we had loads of those crisp, blue, amazing winter skies and it was really still. It's the only time I've ever seen the sea frozen over. And there was a place up towards the north end of the mainland called Vaux. And in Vaux the harbour had frozen over. And I was up one day, we just recently got our puppy, who's making a noise down here. And we just recently got her and we thought we'll go for a drive, take her for a walk. And while we were up there we passed Vaux and the harbour was frozen. There was an amazing drone footage of somebody had taken of a boat going out and breaking the ice on the way. And while I was there I saw this and I loved the way that the red boat contrasted with the harbour that was there, and the water was all frozen and it was still and it was stunning. It was a beautiful day and this was my favourite photo that I took in January last year. I actually ended up getting this photo put on a Christmas card up here with Shetland Arts, and it's the only photo that's ever really done anything like that. But I liked it. I liked how it was edited, and you know, I tried to get a little bit of these rocks with the snow on them in the foreground, and hopefully to show the snow around the blue skies, and it just really showed the scene of what life was like in Shetland this time last year. This second photo that I took with my drone, and I've only got a little Mavic Mini. You know, you've got drones that are far better than that. But when the conditions are right, even with a relatively cheap drone, you can get some really cool shots. And there was one day we were out at a place called Hamnavoe, and there's a great walk out to the lighthouse there that you can see there. I think it's called Fuglaness. I'm not sure if that's quite how you say it, but that's what it's spelt like. And there's also a cave there that you can go down, which is, if you look at this photo, I suppose it's along the right hand side of the coast there, and it's called Smuggler's Cave. So I don't know if there's some old stories that's told there of how things used to be smuggled in and out of Hamnavoe through that cave. It was another one of those really crisp, beautiful winter's day. There was very little wind, so I sent the drone up, and this is probably the closest I've ever taken, for those of you who are Apple fans, this is the closest I've ever taken to an Apple background. It looks kind of like, I think it was Mojave or whichever one of the Mac OS systems that had a background kind of like this in the middle of it. But I just thought I liked how it showed the lighthouse in the near enough in the centre, the Coningsborough Hills in the background with the snow on them, and just a really nice winter scene that I was pretty pleased with how this photo turned out. This is another drone shot that I took, which was taken not too far from my house in a place called Rerwick Beach, and there's always loads of seals on the beach. And as you can see, there's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 7 seals in this picture. Now I've been at times when there's been over 40 seals because I've counted them. But again, it was snow, sand and sea. And seals, all the S's in this picture, and it was a scene that I hadn't really seen before, but I thought if I could put the drone up and capture like a kind of top-down shot of that, it would show something a little different. I actually had a lady from America contact me about this shot, and she sent me a picture of it later on, of it on her wall. She loved it, and it was the first person that had ever asked me for one of my photos, so that's why this is one of my favourite shots. This one here that I took is of, again, it's not far from where that Rerwick Beach is. This is at a place called Little Spiggy, and there were these sheep which I think were called Ronaldsay sheep. I might be wrong with that, but I went down to try and capture some of the colours in the sky to capture a sunset, because it's over the west side of the mainland again, and I thought that it would be nice. My son and I went down, and I suppose that's why this is one of these shots that I really like. It's not just the picture, but actually it was just a good time that I had with my son. These sheep were so friendly. we didn't really get many shots of the sunset. In fact, this was taken after in blue hour. But I like the sheep there, the way the clouds almost put a leading line to the house in the background. But it looks like the sheep's having a great time. I like the colours in the photo, and it just reminds me of a nice night that I had with my son. This photo was taken up at a place called Eshenes. Now, that's one of the probably most popular tourist attractions in Shetland. The cliffs are incredible, and the lighthouse just perched on the edge looks really dramatic. And I went up one night with the family. This was actually just after I had lost my camera. So last year I had an accident with my camera where it got knocked over and it fell into the sea and got destroyed. And I thankfully had insurance, which enabled me to get a new camera. But in the meantime, I had borrowed a camera and was using the kit lens. And this photo just reminds me that even with the most basic of kit, if the conditions are right, then you can still get a great photo. And I loved that the light was probably the best I've ever seen. And I loved the drama of the cliffs and the drama of the sky. And almost it was like you can see the rain almost coming down directly over the lighthouse here. And it did actually look like this. You know, sometimes you can see a photo and you can edit it and make it look more dramatic than it was. But this photo was dramatic. And the lighting conditions, as I say, was the best that probably I've ever been taking photos in. And so it's just a reminder to me that even with budget gear, you can get something that works. Now, this photo I did add a bit of drama to, but I love this old house on the island of Burra. And this house it's seen better days, but it really does quite. I thought the mood of the photo matched the kind of nature of the house. I mean, the house has got a great view. Look at that view that looks over the water and over the cliffs at Cunningsborough again. But the drama in the sky, the way the weather was moving in, I just liked the mood of it. And sometimes that's the kind of vibe that you're going for with a photo. And you know, it was the first time I'd probably edited a photo to what I really liked. And you know, because that's been part of the journey this year, has not just been learning about composition and how to take a photo and how to work my camera, but it's also been the editing journey. And I love nothing more than sitting down with my iPad after a day where I've taken some photos and going through on Lightroom on the iPad and editing my photo. And this one I was particularly happy with. This photo was actually taken on my iPhone, and it was a stunning night. I'd actually gone out fishing with a friend and we'd got stranded in the sea. Our engine broke down and we ended up having to get rescued. And just after we came back in, we'd got towed in, and it wasn't my responsibility, it was my friend's. And but we'd ended up, as I said, having to get rescued. And just after we came back in and brought the boat back up on the shore, not this boat that you can see here, but I went down. The colours in the sky, it was a stunning summer's night, and I went down with my phone and I loved the green seaweed on the rocks and just the stillness of the water and the reflections, and then the colours in the sky as well. And yeah, there's an amazing place just around the corner from here where somebody has bought a house that you can only actually access by boat, and they've been doing that up and making a little bit of a small estate there. And when you see a picture like this and a scene like this, you can really see why they're doing that. This photo is one of my favourites, again, because as part of the journey I've been trying to learn some different techniques, and I was trying to learn a long exposure, and I'd got up really one Saturday morning and the sky looked like it was going to be a really nice sky. So I thought, well, I'm going to go down to just the pier just not far from my house and take a couple of ND filters and see if I can get a photo looking across to the island of Musa. Now you can see the island of Musa just in the background there, peeking out round the corner. And I hadn't really expected to get this shot. I thought about there's some rocks round the corner from where this tower is. And I did get some photos, but they didn't probably turn out how I'd wanted to. You're right there, dog. I thought I would get something very different. And I also learned that morning that things just you sometimes make mistakes and you have to learn from them. But in this particular case, I actually felt like I got it right. I probably missed the best of the colours, but I was still really happy with how the water looks. The first time I'd taken some pictures using an ND filter where I'd actually got the water to look how I wanted it to look. And I love the way that the kind of coast part here, where the line of the water does, again, it's like a leading line that takes you into where the turret of the house there is. And so yeah, I was really happy with this photo. It was just another one that you can kind of tick off the list to say, hey, do you know what? I've managed actually to do that. And there's quite a good feeling comes with that when you manage to do something that you wanted to do. That's part of the learning journey. This photo here was taken towards the tail end of the year, and we had some really wild weather that was coming into Lerwick, just on the perfect kind of angle that would wash these waves into the shore in Lerwick. Down in the town, you've got these houses called the Lodberries that are built almost in the sea. In fact, they are built into the sea. And on this day, the wind was so strong. It's the first time I've ever felt the wind clip my heels. When you've got these, when you're walking down the street, you've got these lanes, and when you were walking between the lanes, you were kind of sheltered from the wind. But when you walked and the wind was whipping down through the lanes, when you took that step, it was like the wind caught your heel and almost tripped you up. And it was really wild this day, and I loved this a scene just from the harbour where you could see the way that the wind and the waves were whipping through the town, and you know, really washing up onto these houses and the Queen's Hotel there on the right hand side, and it looked like quite a dramatic scene. And I had my camera with me, and I thought I'd try and take it out and take a picture before my camera gets absolutely soaked. And so I took this photo. I think it shows the drama of the day and shows just how wild it was. You see those white peaks and the wind, you know, coming in towards the town there. So this was my most liked picture of the year. People seem to like this picture. And to be honest, I was happy with it, and I think it shows the mood. It's a quite blue, dark scene, and I think it captures exactly what Lerwick looked like on that day. And this is the final photo that I wanted to show from this year, and this one was taken. It was one day my son was at a fencing competition, and just towards the end of the year, and I had to go, and because of COVID I wasn't allowed to go in initially to watch the fencing competition. So I had just some time to kill with my camera, and I went down to the harbour in Aith, and there was this boat that was sitting on, like, you know, some stilts that had been taken out of the water. And as you can see, the boat's probably had better days. It's got a hole there in the keel, and maybe needs more than just that work to get it fixed and seaworthy again. But you know, for the last couple of years, it's been quite the couple of years for everyone, really. And there was something about this boat called Hope, and I thought about it being a bit battered and bruised, but there was still hope remained. And for me, I like the colours in the sky in the background. It was kind of getting towards sunset, and it was really quite a beautiful day. It was quite snowy that day as well. But I think this captured just something. It said more than just a picture of a boat, but actually it reminded me that although we can be battered and we can go through the storms like this boat, I'm sure I've seen many a day like that we still have hope. But that's been my 2021 photo journey. It's been great to learn about the different photography techniques and about editing, about ND filters, about composition, about checking what the conditions are like. I'll be back next week with some more photography stuff. Hopefully the weather clears up and we'll be able to get outside. But until then, have an awesome week.